We see so many people come to us and say, oh, I don't want to ask for support. What if people think I'm not going to cope or I'm not managing? What does that mean? And often we, as pregnant parents, partners, new mums, that's all we need to hear is you are enough as you are, and your baby's really lucky to have you.
That was Sara McCarthy, an NSPCC Jersey practitioner who helps run the Pregnancy in Mind service. And I'm Fiona Potney, news editor of Bailiwick Express, and this is our podcast. Up to 1 in 5 mums and 1 in 10 dads experience mental health problems in the period during pregnancy and a baby's first birthday. So why don't we talk more about parental mental health? Much of the focus in a recent scrutiny review of the island's maternity provision was around the outdated and inadequate facilities and how such surrounds can harm parents' well-being during the birth experience. To rectify this, the government says it's ploughing £6 million into improving the hospital suite. But one improvement that has perhaps garnered less attention was the commitment to recruit a perinatal mental health midwife. It's a signal of a growing realisation that to properly put children first, parents also have to have their needs looked after. Unfortunately, this hasn't always been the case. Many parents experience anxieties around finance and their housing situation, among other baby worries during pregnancy. They worry they won't be good enough. Some are alone and isolated without a support network. These worries can sometimes lead to a very dark place, one recently made darker and scarier by the pandemic. Often, a sense of shame prevents parents from speaking out. But help is at hand. The NSPCC's Pregnancy in Mind programme has been looking to help parents through these fears in recent years. The team aim to validate parents and their experiences, letting them know they're not alone and providing them with helpful techniques and a network to help them move forward positively. We spoke to NSPCC practitioner Sara about the pressures of being the perfect parent, strong fathers' hidden anxieties, and why being selfish isn't so selfish. She started by explaining the types of parents she's worked with.
We see absolutely everybody from every walk of life. Pregnancy, once you're pregnant, these changes are universal. Everybody has to think about how they're going to transition to become a parent, and the pressures are there on everybody, wherever you're from and whoever you are. In Jersey, we do see a wide range of mums coming forward, but we actually support about 40% of the women we support at the NSPCC have experienced previous loss, pregnancy loss, or baby loss, which is a significant group actually, and of course, that impacts on their current pregnancies, and they need extra support and care at that time as they have their rainbow babies. We also see lots of people over here experiencing social isolation, which of course the pandemic has increased to a massive level. Jersey didn't used to seem too far away. People could pop back to the UK or pop back to wherever they're from. And now that's become much harder. And raising children without a close support network of family and friends really intensifies those pressures. Social support is excellent for mums and dads, actually, and partners. Everybody needs that support network when they have a new baby. And for many people in Jersey, they haven't got that because the pandemic has taken the ease of their parents visiting or friends or family or being able to pop back, which is really devastating for lots of families.
What other pressures have arisen as a result of the pandemic? What difficulties are expectant parents facing?
Birth arrangements, appointments, wanting to have their partner by their side is a really normal and understandable and special thing as you're transitioning. You want to do this as a family unit. And of course, Corona has taken the certainty of that away. So many women are worried about that, and partners, worried about missing the birth and being able to be by their partner's side. So that's a main one. The reduction in being able to access support networks, so informal support networks like friends and family. Professional support networks are very much still present. But women thrive through, and men, but women thrive through peer support. That's, you don't want to talk to a professional really. You want your best friend in the middle of the night saying, you're doing okay. So social support networks are crucial, and being separated from those increases all the other feelings of stress. For many people, they've faced job uncertainty, and that's financial pressures have been a long-standing issue. Financial and work pressures have been a long-standing issue in Jersey in particular. And again, Corona has intensified that even further. So coronavirus has almost upped the ante of everybody's anxieties. It's upped that for every person in the world, but for a pregnant person, they're really going where nobody's gone before, and it really intensifies the losses. Corona really makes the stresses harder.
So we've focused a lot about the build-up to giving birth, the pregnancy period, but what about the immediate aftermath of that? What kind of challenges might some parents face once they've had their baby in terms of their mental health?
About 1 in 5 mums experience mental health problems post-birth, postnatal depression, or anxiety. So that isn't a small number if we think about it. So these women, what's really crucial to point out is these women aren't on their own with it. It is a normal experience, but a really frightening one, and one that there's support for, one that there's treatment for, and one that can be resolved. I think as women, long-standing, we have really high expectations of ourselves, and that extends to giving birth, feeding our babies, looking great after we give birth, all these different pressures that mums put on themselves. So the pressures post-birth they're very present. Again, coronavirus ups the ante of all those pressures by increasing social isolation. So women do experience postnatal depression and anxiety, and it's really important that if you start to notice and feel actually something's not right for me, even if you're like, I'm not sure if this is depression or I'm not sure if this is baby blues. 80% of mums experience baby blues, which is a really normal phenomenon, but not one we often talk about. But that tends to lift after about 10 days. And then postnatal depression has a more of a gradual onset, and we really feel that most coming in around 6 weeks and lasting up to a year. So when we talk about the perinatal period, we talk about from conception, from the moment a baby's conceived, all the way through to your baby's first birthday. And postnatal depression sort of begins to feel noticeable and heavier around 6 weeks. And like I say, we'd really urge women not to sit on that. Support is readily available through many different means on the island.
So what should women look out for? What feelings might they have? What signs might they see?
Signs and symptoms are quite similar to generalised anxiety or depression, but there are some specifics. So feeling low in mood, feeling quite hopeless, and feeling like, this isn't going to get better, tearfulness, a loss of energy and a loss of motivation. In fact, we hear that a lot, that women saying the normal strategies that I've relied on, such as running or visiting friends or taking a break, we can't do some of those things during coronavirus. We're having to think of new strategies, and that's really impacting them. So a loss of motivation, loss of energy, sleeping lots, wanting to sleep, and oversleeping or not being able to get to sleep, and worrying, ruminating at night, and then not sleeping. Loss of sex drive, that's a really funny one in pregnancy because and post-birth, because of course it's really normal for women not to want to have sex when they've just had a baby, but everybody's different and everybody will know for them, actually this doesn't feel right for me. And again, not being able to do the activities that they might have before. Popping to the shop might have felt really easy before. Now that might feel really hard. So when you start to notice things that you could normally do without any worries or extra thought, those becoming harder and harder, that's a really key symptom as well. Being a bit irritable, again, when you're both tired post-baby and you're not sleeping very well, you're going to be a bit irritable with each other. It's really normal for parents, couples, relationships to feel that strain. But if this is starting to feel like too much for you and you're feeling, this isn't me, this isn't me at all, something's changed, then that would be the time to seek support. And some of the different ones when we think about post-pregnancy rather than low mood or depression outside the perinatal period is our feelings towards the baby. So knowing how much you love your baby, but not being able to feel that connection, not being able to feel that warmth, rationally knowing, I love my baby so much and I would do anything for my baby, happy, but something feeling more difficult in building that relationship.
For some parents, I imagine, they're probably a bit worried to admit that type of
Yeah,
feeling.
absolutely. Many people are. There are so many barriers to asking for help or admitting, actually, I need a bit more help. But I think it's crucial. It's so important. And the services that are available are all confidential, supportive, and there. I mean, it's our bread and butter. It's what we see day in and day out. And we know it happens to so many women. Well, by exactly that, people expecting men to be the stronger one, to be that provider, to be that all-encompassing caregiver. And men feel that heavy pressure on themselves, and never more so, I can imagine, during the perinatal period, particularly if their partner is experiencing low mood or anxiety. Then we often see men being so loving and supportive and trying to be there for their partner and get the help that they need. And they do that marvellously. We know that women turn first and foremost to their partners if they need support. And what that means is that men are excellent at giving it, but also have their own needs. When you're caring for a young family, a young child, and supporting your wife through experiencing anxiety and low mood, you also need support yourself. It's really crucial, and it is available. But as hard as it is for women to talk about their needs during the perinatal period, I am sure men find that much, much harder. At the NSPCC, we take a really a huge family approach. We're not a medical service, so we're not solely focused on the health of the mother. We are focused on the health of the family and the emotional well-being of the family. And we support dads just as much as we do mums, dads and partners. We had one couple used to say on the drive home from the group, the father would be very silent in the car, and she'd always be like, "You're right, love." And he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm just processing it. There's all this stuff I hadn't really thought about." And we see that so often. Dads play such a crucial, vital role. And I think that's being more and more reflected in Jersey by their access to leave after they have a baby. And it's wonderful to see dads take that up fully. Dads have the same number of nurturing hormones as mums, but we always put it on mums. That sort of our brains do change when we have babies. The hormones, and there's brain changes to help us bond and develop, but they happen for dads too, and they happen slowly and gradually through the pregnancy, but they start to really take effect once they're holding their baby in their arms. That's when their brains start to change and the nurturing hormones kick in. So dads are just as important.
I mean, it's clear that obviously, there are a lot of parents who need to take care of their mental health, but how do you make the argument to them? They might think it's selfish that they take some time to look after themselves rather than just focusing on their newborn.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think, that I was talking about this the other day. I think that's a real issue with us as women today, as the expectations we place on ourselves, and we want to be the best mums we can be, and we strive in everything we do to give our children the world, in every way, all the love and attention and healthy food and all the support they need. We really, really try. And often that comes at the detriment of ourselves, because we're just putting our children's needs first. And of course, our children's needs are paramount always. But we have needs too. And in order to be the best parents that we can be to our children, we have to take that time for ourselves. We have to prioritise our own needs. There should be no guilt, no worry, or no concern in doing that, because we are much, much, much better parents and caregivers to our babies if we feel safe and well, and our cup keeps getting topped up. It's an age-old expression. You can't pour from an empty cup. And in parenting, we really try to do that. We're exhausted. We're feeding all hours of the day. We don't sleep. We are at groups. We're socialising. We're trying to do everything we can to give our babies the best experience. But a healthy mum and a healthy dad makes an emotionally healthy baby. So an emotionally healthy mum and dad makes an emotionally healthy baby. And therefore, it should absolutely be our priority to keep ourselves as emotionally well as possible. Take up the babysitter. That's what I always say. I see people like, no, grandparents or friends that are desperate just to sit and hold your baby and just stare lovingly at them, or have them come round and let them hold the baby and cook the dinner whilst you have a bath, things that we think, gosh, no, I couldn't possibly do that. I wouldn't possibly ask for that. I'm absolutely fine. I'll just crack on. Support is everything. It does take a village. And in Jersey, for many people, that's hard. They don't have their villages around. Corona's taken them and they live apart from their families. So it's about finding support networks and taking up the support. We have to keep ourselves well in order to raise emotionally healthy, happy children. So it should always be at the forefront of our mind is, what can I do for me today? What's important? What needs do I have today and how can I meet them? And what needs do our relationship have today? So relationships really change when you have a baby. 90% of couples experience relationship decline immediately after having a baby. So it's the rule that you'll find your relationship harder. You are very lucky if you are the exception to the rule, where you still think your partner is the bee's knees immediately after giving birth. Like, you are the exception to the rule. Most people think, oh my gosh, this is really hard. I've not slept. I just need to focus on the baby and not each other. And over time, we need to put that time into our relationships, work out what are our priorities in our relationship, and give each other that time. It's really important. And we know the stability, if you're in a relationship, the stability of your relationship really impacts your child's development. So again, a healthy and happy mum and dad together make an emotionally healthy baby.
So let's just talk about the programme that the NSPCC runs. Talk us through it. If someone comes to you and says, I really need help, I'm expecting and I'm struggling, what happens next?
So we receive most of our referrals from midwives at maternity, so at the booking appointment, at the mum's 8-week appointment, or sometimes a bit later at the 16-week appointment. But we can receive referrals at varying points. Mums and their partners, dads too, can refer themselves to us as well. They can pick up the phone. Every mum should get our little leaflet in their booking pack at 8 weeks. So when they get referred, we make contact with them and we either invite them to the centre or Zoom, whichever, whatever way people are comfortable. And we spend time getting to know them, learning what are your needs, what's going on for you, and what support can we put in place. Most parents need someone to talk to, someone to listen. We strive to respond quickly. That's one of our, we keep waiting lists to a minimum. If parents have a high need, we will respond very efficiently. So we spend the first couple of sessions getting to know them and working out what their needs are. And then we invite them to a group, which depends on Corona, is either face-to-face at our centre or virtual over Zoom. And then we, within that group, focus on the needs of the group as a whole. In summary, it's lots of active relaxation, lots of mindfulness. We do some cognitive behavioural approach, exercises and activities, really thinking about identifying negative thoughts, how we can catch them, how we can break them. And we spend a lot of time focusing on strategies, so emotional coping skills. And also we spend a lot of time having cups of tea and eating biscuits and letting people just chat, because that's just as important as people hearing from each other about their experiences. In fact, a successful group quite often is us sitting back with our cups of tea and our biscuits and letting the mums and partners talk amongst themselves about what's going on for them and what they found helpful. And we also focus on the babies. Like I mentioned before, lots of people, if you're experiencing low mood and worries, if you're in a high stress state during pregnancy, it's very hard to turn your focus onto your baby. We know that babies can't think, but they can feel. So we often talk about, I wonder what our babies are feeling in this moment now. We're all relaxed. We've just done some nice relaxation. What are our babies experiencing from this? And alternatively, we also think about when we're in high stress states, how can we calm ourselves and soothe ourselves and our babies? People worry, particularly in a global pandemic, I'm feeling so stressed. How is this impacting my baby? I hear stress impacts my baby. Am I harming my baby? And what we say to them is actually focus on today. Today, you are doing everything you can to keep your baby safe and well. You're here with us, learning how to relax, to focus on it. You're going to your antenatal appointments. You're eating the right foods. That's everything you need to do to keep your baby safe and well. We see so many people come to us and say, oh, I don't want to ask for support. What if people think I'm not going to cope or I'm not managing? What does that mean? And often we, as pregnant parents, partners, new mums, that's all we need to hear is you are enough as you are, and your baby's really lucky to have you, and we'll stand by you during any of these experiences that you're having. That's what we're here for.
Thank you, Sara. We'll be continuing to follow this issue on our website, bailiwickexpress.com. If you found this podcast helpful or interesting, please like and share it to help others too. The title track was I Shift My Weight by Luno. More next week from me, Fiona Potney, and the Bailiwick Express team.